We all know that real estate has created more millionaires than any other industry on the planet. We also know that it has created a lot of heartache due to mismanagement, overborrowing, and just simple life events that happen to all of us. Welcome to the Cash Flow Pro podcast. My name is Casey Brown, and I am your fearless leader. And although we might be bourbon sipping and at times foul-mouthed Southerners, we will always do our best to be honest, straightforward, and due diligent with all of the information we pass along to you. Welcome to the show. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of Cash Flow Pro, your daily real estate investing podcast and YouTube channel. I'm here today with Neil Schoepp of BulMac Properties, and Neil and I were just talking, and one thing he said that immediately perked my ears up was we are blessed because we are on the right side of the grass. And I had never really heard it put that way before, but the right side of the grass is a good place to be. So Neil, how are you today?
I'm fantastic, Casey. It's great to be here. Great to share some ideas.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to have you here because I know there's a lot of people. You know, you and I talked a little bit there about mindset and limiting beliefs and things that people have that are just like I can't do that. You know, I can't do that because, or I'm not. I can't go out and buy a $10 million apartment building. Well, why not? Okay. Well, because instead of just saying, I don't know how, people start making excuses as to why they can't. And in all reality, they just don't know how. And that's what we want to tell people. I mean, that's what you want to show people is how,
Yes.
Let's make it happen. So why don't you Neil, why don't you kind of start with telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got started and how you kind of went through that mindset shift that you so much try to talk to people about now.
So I grew up in New York City, 40 plus years in New York City. I listened to my father and I went to work for the city because if I worked for the city, I'd always be able to provide for my family, but I would never have to worry about providing for my family. I wouldn't get rich, but I wouldn't have to worry about providing for the family. And that's exactly what he told me. He said, go to work for the city. And that's what I did. I hit every kid's exacta. I was a New York City police officer and a New York City fireman. And I did that for 24 years, and a lot of ups and downs, but a lot of fun. And I got to the point where I wanted something more. And what was that more? That more turned out to be real estate. And I went out there and I searched out education. Like a lot of the listeners, I found bigger pockets. Bigger pockets then led me to my mentor, Jake and Gino, or Wheelbarrow Profits. And I started going down the real estate rabbit hole. And that real estate rabbit hole led me to crushing my limiting beliefs and mindset. And now I believe I'm on a mission to spread the word that if you can change your mindset and you can work on your mindset, there's nothing you can't accomplish.
That's exactly right. And the thing is that when we start talking about mindset and we start telling people that, hey, I'm not telling you you're thinking wrong. I'm not telling you need to be doing something different. I'm just simply telling you, hey, believe in yourself. You know what I'm saying? I mean, does that make sense?
It's absolutely accurate. We are exactly where we belong on our journey. We didn't do anything wrong to get to where we are. It's all part of that process. And
that's right.
I'm not telling you you're thinking wrong. What I am telling you is that people that are 2 or 3 years ahead of you think differently.
That's right. And that's why a lot of times, what we hear is it's so important to surround yourself with people that you want to be like, right? And once you kind of step out, because the thing is that a lot of people want to hold others back, right? They want to keep them on their level so that they don't ever feel inferior to who, you, if you're in the room with them. Right. And so they tend to just kind of shield those. They tend to kind of say things that make you feel like you can't be better than what you are.
Yes.
And so when you start surrounding yourself by people who are better than you, then you naturally get kind of, I don't know if you want to say tugged along or pulled up, or you really start elevating your thinking.
You get pulled up. That's exactly what happens. Because I have the limiting belief, a great limiting belief, right? I can't buy real estate with no money down. Now, it may not be easy to buy real estate with no money down,
Yep.
but it's possible to do it, right? And
Yep.
it doesn't have to be your money.
Yep.
So I have no money. I need money to make money. Well, you need access to money or equity or collateral, but it doesn't necessarily have to be cold hard cash in the bank. You can build
Yep.
relationships. I just listened to a podcast, and the person that was on the podcast was 15 years old, and he brought $1 million piece of property.
There, I mean,
if that's not crushing limiting beliefs, he went out, he raised $300,000 at 15 years old. He raised $300,000, and he took down a small apartment complex. I think it was 16 units.
And see, and what do you think he's going to be doing at 26, right? Or 25, well, whatever. I mean, 10 years from now.
He's 28, and he has $70 million assets.
Right now?
Yeah.
You're saying that was his first deal?
Yeah. This is when he was 17. When he was 15, he purchased his first property, and now he's 28, and he has millions assets under management. So
and I mean, and that's why I say, I mean, it's the limiting beliefs are so, like, they're so rampant in our society that people just, and sometimes people just don't want to, right? I mean, we have to like lay that out there, that sometimes people just, they're like, I'm perfectly content the way, and that's fine, because it takes all kinds for this world to keep on spinning. But when we're entrepreneurs and we're out looking for opportunity every day, you have to know not only how to find that opportunity or where to be looking for that opportunity, but what that opportunity is and how it presents itself. And that's open. What you learn from, from surrounding yourself by people that are, one step above or two steps above where you want to, where you are. And so
go back. I want to stop right there for a quick second, Casey.
Okay.
Go back and re-listen to what Casey just said, because he just nailed it. When you're around the right people, you are open to seeing the opportunities. The opportunities are all around you every single day. We're just not in tune to recognizing them and then taking action on them.
Yep. That's exactly right. And that's exactly right. You have to know what that opportunity looks like. And unless you're open to learning, and unless you're open to just, or unless you're just receptive to an idea that maybe something is different than what you thought, or can be done differently than what you thought, then it's, you might as well not be even looking, because if you're not open to the idea that, hey, maybe I was wrong, or hey, maybe I do need a mind shift, or hey, so it's a process. And once you start with, I need to change, okay, that's the first step. Now, next thing is, what do you need to change? And then the next step is how do you change? And then on down through there. So, with all that being said, the whole mindset program programs that are out there are kind of all just a slightly different angle on the same principle.
It's all the same principles. It's what resonates most with you as an individual, because everybody learns differently. Yeah. So I'm a very speak very fast. Some people need somebody that speaks slower and it has a more calm demeanor.
Yeah. And that's why these podcasts are so valuable to a lot of people out there, because when people hear what you're doing, and they're actually able to be hypothetically in a room with us right now, and hear us talking without actually having to leave the physicality where they're at, and they can learn why they're doing something else. So, well, let's talk a little bit about BulMac Properties and maybe how you got started, because I know we have a lot of beginning syndicators, beginning capital raisers, beginning people out there that want to not necessarily know how to make that mind shift. Let's say they've made that mind shift and a mindset shift, and now they want to start diving into the real estate world. What tell us a little bit about BulMac and how that got started.
So BulMac got started because I had small properties, right? I had a couple of single families, duplexes, and I wanted economies of scale.
Yep.
Specifically, I wanted the control that commercial multifamily affords you. So what I did was I then went out and built my education, and I formed a partnership with a couple of individuals. Actually, my nephew, who's down in Virginia, BulMac's based in Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and he had the market knowledge. I had the real estate knowledge, and we put that together. We brought in a third partner that had the maintenance knowledge. So
Okay.
I have somebody that knows the market inside and out. I have somebody that knows real estate and has connections to the real estate realm or the knowledge realm. And then I have someone that can fix anything. The head of maintenance, my other partner, he can fix anything. It's absolutely amazing. So when I go and look at properties now, I have the team in place. I know if the area is an area I want to be in because somebody on my team is telling me this is where we want to be. And when I initially, a big advantage we get out of it is when I bring my other partner there and he walks the property, he's like, yeah, no, this is going to need, and he can give a ballpark for that initial underwriting. He can give a ballpark of how much it's going to cost to put that value add component in there so
Yeah.
that we can be
Yeah.
very quick and competitive right from, I mean, hour one, not even day one, hour one.
Yeah. Well, and that's the team. That's what they always say is in this business is the team makes everything from the deal all the way through to the profit. And having the right team around you is definitely that. And when you got somebody that's the Mr. Fix It of that type of scenario, man, that's unreal. So what you said, you owned a bunch of small properties. Do you still own those, or are you scaled into like you said, you wanted economies of scale, which we all want, obviously. What geographically speaking, what do you have, and then and kind of how's that grouped right now?
So I'm in Pennsylvania and in Virginia. Uh, I'm transitioning out of the small property, so I actually only have one duplex left, and I got a great story about that duplex case to really
All right, tell
inspire
us.
your listeners. But I kept that duplex for a very specific reason, and I have 43 doors uh, here in Pennsylvania, and then I have another 8 doors down in Virginia Beach.
Wow.
And those 8 doors, again, just buying properties properly, having that plan in place, and moving that plan forward. So I can discuss all of that. I really want to get to the duplex really quickly.
Okay.
The duplex, one of my tenants moved out, and that
Okay.
now needs a turn. So I have a 17-year-old son. That
Okay.
17-year-old son comes to me and says, listen, I want a piece of this. How can I get a piece of this? And I told him straight out, all right, well, you have some savings. You do Dave Ramsey's envelope system, essentially. You have some
Yep.
savings. You can use that savings to purchase all of the stuff you need, paint, paintbrushes, caulking, whatever you need to turn that unit. You do all the work on the unit, and you earn part of that cash flow.
Well, I mean, and
And
how old you said
17, and he's like doing it. So Again, people say, "Well, I have no money." I'm sure your listeners have kids that are complaining about it, they have no money. You don't need money to get into deals. You need resourcefulness. You need ingenuity. You need creativity.
Well, you have to be able to have those things. Otherwise, it makes it really
Yes.
difficult to. And that's the whole thing. Like you said, resourcefulness is really, that's what I focus a lot on teaching my kids is resourcefulness. I mean, I don't care if they get it wrong. I don't care if they get it or they do something that screws things. I mean, as long as
Yes.
they're trying, as long as they're being
Yes.
resourceful, as long as they're trying to say, okay, hey, I have this problem. Now, if I have this problem, what is the first step I'm going to take towards solving it?
Hmm.
What's the second step I'm going to take? Then, and a lot of times what I found very difficult to teach my kids is to think about all of these steps before you start necessarily doing things that can't be undone if you get to step 3 and it hadn't worked, right? So I'm not saying you need to not do step 1 because you're scared step 3 is not going to work. I'm simply saying just have a vision for, okay, hey, if I get to step 3 and it doesn't work, what's plan B? You know what I'm saying? So, and that's again in my thinking, in my way of teaching, that is resourcefulness, like the definition of it.
My plan B is we're going to figure it out.
That's right. That's right.
That's what it is.
And when
Figure it out.
you have that, yeah, when you have that thought process of saying, okay, hey, plan, there's no step in this whole thing that's unreversible where we can go back. But because I'll be honest with you, one of my biggest weaknesses is doing things that can't be undone first, and not being like, once you drill a hole, that hole's there. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
So when I get to
and
those
sometimes
points, I'm sorry.
sometimes I get a little carried away.
So
This is probably that's what my wife says anyway.
that's when the yield sign comes out, right? That's when, because I
Yeah.
like going 100 miles an hour. So when I get to
Yeah.
drill in that hole, oh, hold on a second. Maybe I'm gonna go 25 miles an hour here, and just all right.
Yeah.
With all the information I have right now, is this the proper action to take? Okay, if it is the proper action to take with the information I have right now, then I'm acting in the best way I can, and I'm going to
Yeah.
forge forward. And if that turns out later on that I find out that it wasn't the best action because now I have new information, well, that goes into the database for the next deal or the next
Yeah.
scenario. But I'm not going to beat
Yeah.
myself up over it. Am I going to
Yeah.
be upset? Yeah, I'm going to be upset. Am I going to be like down for a couple of hours, a day? Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to let it affect me still forging forward.
That's right. That's right. Because if it does affect you, then you might as well just stop and go back to your W-2 job, right?
There you go. Entrepreneur is jump off the cliff, then they build a parachute. So
that's right. That's right. And that's what makes all of this stuff jive and work. And so how many doors do you have? How many doors are you up to right now? What do you have going on right this minute?
I'm up to 53 and 2, so 54. 53 and 2,
That's
55.
pretty good.
I can't. That's great math. So I'm
mostly duplex, quadplex, triplex stuff.
43 in Pennsylvania, 8 down below, and 2 here. So that's 45.
What's the makeup of unit sizes and stuff?
So they're primarily all 2 bedrooms. So
duplexes, quadplexes.
Duplexes, 43 doors is one building, and 8 doors is another building. Like one duplex, one eightplex, and one 43 door property.
Wow. And now let's talk a little bit about outside capital. How much outside capital did you raise, and how did you do that?
So
if you did,
I didn't physically raise the capital for the 43. The eightplex we brought cash, and the duplex we just financed. I mean, I brought the duplex a long time ago.
Gotcha.
The duplex is my college savings fund for my daughter.
There you go.
I purchased that back in 2003-ish, somewhere
Yeah.
around there, with the intent that the equity that that property was going to generate would pay for my daughter's college, and she's now going to Penn State, and it's paid for. I don't have to worry. I don't wake up thinking about how I'm going to pay for college because that duplex.
Sure. And then so I'm assuming it kind of brings in money now, and money just gets put back, and then
Yeah.
it pays for the school, right?
Yes.
And that's awesome. That's awesome. And it's just, there you go. There's the resourcefulness of saying, hey, this is what's causing me sleepless nights. I'm going to be resourceful enough to go out and figure out how to solve that. And then once you do solve it, it's like, damn, was that Staples the button?
Yes,
that was easy.
That was easy. and it really was. Like, you buy the duplex generates your cash flow. It then builds equity. I'm not physically paying down the mortgage, right? The
Yep.
clients are paying down the mortgage. That now has equity. I take a HELOC or I refinance it, and I draw out that capital. That capital is then used to pay for the college education, which, by the way, the clients are now still paying down that loan, and the property's still cash flowing.
Sure.
So
sure.
I'm still getting cash flow, and college is free.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to do it, man, and everybody wants to. And what's always really kind of been what's always kind of been a pain point for me in talking to people about it is Wall Street has done a wonderful job on the way that they, think about how many people out there have these college plans.
Yes.
With some investor advisor somewhere, and that investor advisor somewhere has this money tied up in stocks, bonds, and this and that and whatever. And instead of just saying, hey, why don't you let somebody pay the mortgage down when your child is born, buy a duplex, 15-year mortgage, let somebody pay that down over that 15 years. Then when they get 16, 17, 18, that's a time to put back a little bit. And now I say all of this kind of looking back on my kids' childhoods as well. So it's not something that I did. I'm just saying that once I learned about all this, and then Wall Street's done a really good job of saying, hey, we will do this for you and we will charge the hell out of you to do it, rather than you just going and buying it, doing it yourself, or even for that matter, buy side by side single family residences, or buy two, whatever it takes. Let somebody pay those down over the first 15, 16, 17 years of their life. They go to college, refinance, that pays for college, or pays for most of college. And then really, if you're still cash flowing, then maybe that even pays for meal plans and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just such a resounding way to look at it, and such a there's no middleman in that deal. You know what I mean?
There is no middleman. Wall Street is a business. It's a business. So those financial advisors need to put food on their tables. They put food on their tables by the amount of products they sell. Just like if I was selling cars, or I was a real estate agent selling houses, it's all their salesmen. Now, that may work in your life's journey, right? Maybe you don't want to, because real estate is passive income, right? But it's not truly passive. Like, you have to work at it. There's things that you need to do. There's things that you need to attend to. If you're going to have a duplex in town, like I self-managed that duplex, they ended up getting a water leak an hour before I was going to walk out to Easter dinner. And now I'm not at Easter dinner, and I'm down at the duplex taking care of a water leak. At that point, I'm like cursing and everything else because I want to be at Easter dinner. But is it worth it? Yeah, it's worth it. It's paying for my kids' college education.
Sure,
so you have to just find what fits into your cycle. I'm not a big 529 college funds, 529 or 509s. Yeah. I'm not a big 529 guy. I decided to go the route of the duplex because the duplex looks better on my personal financial statement.
Yeah.
It's just...
Hi, this is Casey Brown, host of the Cash Flow Pro podcast and YouTube channel.
Have you been thinking about investing in real estate but just don't know where to begin? I'd like to help by inviting you to check out our website at www.3000capital.com. There you will find an array of material that will help you learn all about real estate syndication. And while you're there, be sure to check out our free video series download titled 5 Must-Know Keys to Success in Passive Real Estate Investing. I'd also like to personally thank you for making Cashflow Pro part of your day. Now, back to the show.
It's just a cash cow. It just keeps buy assets so that you can go out there and play however you define that. If you define that with fast cars, or you define that with vacation homes, or you define that with ski trips, buy your assets so that your assets pay for your living.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the big thing. And of course, everybody's looking at this market, the current market, and saying, well, how do you do that? And how do you, and the thing is there again, it comes down to resourcefulness. Getting out and finding the deals is what's so difficult right now. But finding the deals really is difficult anytime if you're not resourceful, if you're not trying to figure out how to do it or what you need to do, but giving you the steps towards that is, I mean, at least defining the steps towards what your goal is that's the biggie, in my opinion.
So defining, because that gives you your roadmap, right? It lets you know what you're striving for. It lets you know what to pay attention to. And when you're focused on something, those opportunities then appear. And when you're telling people what you're looking for and what you're doing, all of a sudden, those opportunities appear. We spoke about it earlier. You were speaking about it in becoming aware of the opportunities around you, and how so many people just live in their little lane, in their comfort zone. If I told you, don't think about the pink elephant, right? That's all of a sudden now all day you're going to be thinking about a pink elephant. Or when you're going out and you're shopping for a car, what kind of car do you have, Casey?
Truck, Chevrolet truck.
Okay. So now you have a Chevy truck. Before you purchased that Chevy truck, you were like, I really want a Chevy truck. I really like, blue's my favorite color. I really want a blue Chevy Silverado. And then all of a sudden, you're driving down the road and all you see are blue Chevy Silverados. And you're like, where the hell did all these come from? I don't understand. Because you told your brain this is important. Keep your eye out for this. Right? And that's literally how it happens. And now I'm looking for blue Chevy Silverados. I drive down the street, all of a sudden one's for sale.
Yeah, and and the other thing, I want to kind of shift back here just a little bit to the mindset. And I was thinking the other day about, I was actually reading a book about Elon Musk, and when he first started SpaceX, basically they had told him, or they hadn't told him, but there was a excuse me, there was a certain group around that was like, hey, this is just another billionaire that wants to come into this space sandbox and play around. No billionaire has ever actually made it to space and whatever, right? Well, he not only did he prove them wrong to start with, but then and it says in the book, he wanted to be the Southwest Airlines of space. And I'm thinking, man, that's like, and you got to think at the time, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2002, in that area, that it was such a, like that was so far advanced of where we actually were then that, he had vision. And the reason why I go back and talk about that is because along with all of this mindset, everything else, you have to have a vision. You have to have a vision of what do you vision if you get to your goal? What do you vision happening? Right. And the thing that I want to point out, it's always like Russell Brunson, who's one of the greatest marketing minds ever, says that, there was a bunch of athletes trying to make the 4-minute mile, right? They were trying to run a 4-minute mile. Everybody was doing it. They were failing. They were missing it by 7, 8, 10 seconds, whatever it was. And then all of a sudden one guy did. I can't remember his name. All of a
Roger
sudden, one
Bannister.
guy did it. He got yeah, that's right. The 4-minute mile. And then it was like, once that happened, everybody else started doing it. Not me, not you, not average people, but the 4-minute mile was then broke multiple times. And it's so that to me is just such a, I get so enamored at that thought of how does it go from being so, and that's just like the space, the billionaire space race, really, right? You know, you had all these Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, Elon Musk, all trying to send average everyday people to space, and they work, and then what? All of a sudden, within like, I'm gonna say a couple of weeks of one another, all you hear about is these 3 space launches. You know, these people going up into space. These average people like me, you. I'm not average. I'm just kidding. The average people like us going to space. And so anyway, if that doesn't speak to mindset and that doesn't resonate in a way that makes you think about your mindset, then I don't know what else to tell somebody. That, I mean, go back to W-2 job, I guess.
So it's the tenacity that goes along with that also. Elon Musk before he knew anything about rockets, right? He went to Russia and he sat down with Russia and he said, I want to buy a rocket.
Yep.
And Russia looked at him like, you're out of your mind.
Yep.
We're not selling you a rocket. Go back to the US. You don't know anything about rockets. Yep. And Elon came back and he learned everything he could about rockets. He then, that was his, he hit a roadblock. And he said, well, I'm not allowing this to stop me. I'm becoming the Southwest of space. Yep. And nothing was deterring me off of that path. And he came back and he learned everything he could about rockets. And I love this part. He went back to Russia and he wanted to buy another rocket. And Russia said, well, you don't know anything. He was like, yeah, I know. And he proved to them that he knew it. And when Russia wanted to send them a rocket, he said, no, never mind. I
can build my own cheaper.
Yeah. So, but it's the tenacity of having that clarity of vision.
Yep.
Knowing what winning looks like and then producing that. And not always knowing the how, right? You're never going to be able to lay out the how from here to there.
And so, because you have to, it was just like, you know, starting your own podcast or getting into business, doing anything, you have to take that first step before you ever really start figuring out, okay, how do I need to go about this? Because once you start wiggling into your niche, that's where things are going to start changing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's how things are going to start changing. Well, listen, Neil, we're running out of time. And with that, we've got a couple questions we ask every guest that comes on the show. And the first of those is, what is the best book that you have recently read or are currently reading?
The best book I've recently read or am currently reading. I'm actually currently reading Do the Impossible by Jason Drees. It's a mindset book of just getting into the right frame so that I can be in alignment to where I'm going. That's a superb book. I think one of my favorite all-time books is Energy Leadership by Bruce Schneider, which really talks about, it's another mindset book. It's a coaching book, and it just talks about different levels and how we're operating at one level and what the next level looks like so that we can start taking advantage of opportunities to operate at a higher level. And the higher the level, the better life becomes. Sure.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, the next question is, what is a dream vacation that you have either taken or hope to take?
So anything on the salt water. So my dream vacation is, I don't remember the place, but it's those thatched huts where you walk out along a boardwalk over blue water. Your hut has no walls. It's just kind of like out there on the physical water. But anything
like Bali or Fiji, or actually, I think they have some of those as close as Cancun, Mexico. I mean, I know they do.
This is so I'm thinking about a place somewhere in Indonesia. I saw it online and I'm like, that's really cool. But anything around the salt water, I love the salt water.
Awesome, man. Awesome. All right. Well, listen, if the listeners heard something that resonated with them and they'd like to reach out and get in touch with you, talk to you about maybe getting some mindset coaching or something like that, what is the best way for them to do that?
You can reach out to me directly, Neil, Neil, at neilschoepp.com. So it's SCHOEPP. That's my email.
Awesome.
And I'm on
Yeah,
Facebook also. So just
awesome.
Neil
Well,
Schoepp
we're
on
going to
Facebook.
we'll put that in the show notes for folks to click on to reach out to you. I can guarantee you that if you want some one-on-one training or some one-on-one time with Neil, he'll definitely get you, if nothing else, headed in the right direction of making that mind shift so that you can expand what it is you think you're supposed to be doing or how you can do it. And listeners, as always, please head down and leave us a 5-star review and also type a review so that others may know what you enjoyed about the Cash Flow Pro podcast. As well, while you're there, please hit the subscribe button. We got to have subscribers, right? Subscribers are what make the world go round. And subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified when we release new episodes. And you do not want to miss some of what we've got coming up, because we've got some really, really stellar guests that are going to help you with your capital raising, your mindset, your everything. So with that being said, Neil, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you carving out the 30 minutes or so to be here with us, and we want to say thank you.
Casey, you're doing a great job. Keep crushing it out there.
Man, we're trying. We're trying. And listeners, Neil and listeners, I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the day.
Cash Flow Pro is hosted by Casey Brown, founder and CEO of 3000 Capital, a commercial real estate investment firm committed to providing its investors with ongoing cash flow and helping them build long-term wealth. If you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified about all our future episodes. You can find more information about us and our investment philosophy by clicking the link in the show notes below. Thanks for listening.